Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Grip Locked preview for the first major of the year, the Champions Cup. We are headed back into the woods for the tough wooded major, you know, the one major that has really good identity outside of USDGC. We're going to a golf course out in Stockton, California. That's the only time I'm going to talk about it. They have trees. I'm going to ignore it from beyond that. We've talked about it a bajillion times. You know it. We know it. Everyone's upset. We have to live with it. It starts tomorrow. Champions Cup, out of the woods, in the open. So we're going to be looking at this. This is essentially the OTB Open. Again, so what we actually have for our course preview is from the OTB Open of last year. So there are some course changes. But it seems like from watching the Ezra and Aaron Gossage practice round, there's a few big changes, but most of it is the same holes, just they might be in a little bit different order.
Well, with a new pin, too.
Or with some new pins, but a lot of the pins aren't that drastic. Some are. Yeah. I'll talk about those in a second. But I say all that to say our data on the going into last year's course will roll over.
You're going to throw the same type of shots, so
yeah, it's the same property.
It's very accurate.
A majority of the holes are the same, just might be out of number. There is a new hole 1. Old hole 18 is now hole 2.
Yeah.
And I believe hole is it 3 or 6? I forget what number it is, but one of them there is a new tee pad, and so they have one. They basically took what was a par 4 and divided it into kind of 2 par 3s, where one plays out and then one plays across.
Hole 1 has a par 3 pin, doesn't it?
Yeah, hole 1 has a par 3 or a par 4 pin, and what's going to do is they're going to play, I believe, the A layout on the first 2 days, the B layout on the second 2 days.
Yeah.
That could be flipped, but basically the same layout on the first 2 days, same layout on the third and fourth day. Because it's a 4-day major, there needs to be some changes, so that's how that's going to work out. So the course you see on Thursday will be the same as Friday, and then it'll switch for Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday, Sunday is the same. Thursday, Friday.
I do at least like that they are, because I think with this whole new pin thing, I like that they're doing it, because I do like that. I like the idea of having different pin locations on courses. I will say the odds are stacked a bit against them because you're doing it on a course that is already not super, it's kind of forgettable as far as layout. A lot of the holes look similar. A lot of the greens look similar. It's definitely a course that is going to blend together a lot. So it's going to be harder for the viewer to track different pin locations here than it would be at some other courses where for instance, hole 8 at Maple Hill, I'll just take an iconic hole, right? If that pin all of a sudden was further up the hill to the left,
you would know.
It would stick out like a sore thumb. At this course, because we're not as familiar, it will still apply to the players, to the viewer. I think it's good that most viewers will tune in Saturday and Sunday, and they'll just see the same course. So it won't be difficult to track, especially when you're cutting certain holes in half. You know, in golf, you don't have to think about the pins other than really, a commentator mentioning it because the hole still looks the same, right? It's just out a different part of the green.
You might be teeing from a little farther back and moved a little closer to the front edge, but you're in the same spot.
Exactly. Whereas in this situation, there are some holes that are pretty drastically changed. Even if it's not a super far distance move, it might be, the pin was all the way over on the right, but now it's hugging OB on the left. And so it does become almost a different hole in a lot of different ways because you can't just move the basket on most holes, 10 feet further. There are examples like hole 5 at Winthrop where you can do that, just move it a little closer to the water.
Sure.
And I think that's a pretty easy way to do it to make it not so jarring. But I'm curious to see what people think of that overall and how it views, because I feel like I'm glad they're trying it out, but I'm wondering how it'll work on this course.
I'm going to be blunt with you. I'm not super excited. I'm excited that it's the first major of the year. I'm excited for what that means. But I was watching that practice round, and I was confused watching it.
It doesn't play on camera well. That's the first thing I noticed.
I think the hardest part is the OB just doesn't stick out.
Yeah.
Because there's no separation. They're on a golf course, and one thing I do have to give them props to is at least they're not just playing down fairways.
It doesn't play like a golf course. It plays like a park course. But it's not easy to see the defined lines.
There's not the tall grass is OB. There's a few holes where the water's OB. That makes perfect sense. But a lot of it is just spaced out flags kind of define the OB, and there could be more being brought in. This is just from the practice round I watched, so maybe it was just rudimentarily set up for the practice round, and it's going to get more clearly defined.
It's not supposed to be.
Before
it's supposed to be all set up by that day.
Yes, yeah. But I'm saying it might be able to be it meets the PDGA technical standards, and they're going to put more flags out or something, or stakes, because from the camera angles that Aaron and Ezra were using in their videos, And this course, to your point, the holes don't stick out. So I was having a hard time of remembering. This course has been on tour since like 2021. I should remember it. I was having a hard time remembering where we're at with what this hole's supposed to do and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it didn't help that even when I did know there's OB left, it was hard for me to find it.
Well,
when I was watching shots, they'd be like, I think that one might have leaked too far left. And I was like,
yeah.
What do you mean?
It's very hard to track. And another big thing is Mandos are a part of the course design. And Mandos don't show up great on camera. You know,
well, especially the Mandos, and again, this could be something they change.
They're little
As of
signs.
Right now, they're little signs in front. The Pro Tour typically has that red M on the tree, which at least like stands out a little bit more.
Hopefully those
but that
go
is a big
up.
part.
Yeah, because I mean, it'd be one thing. Like, really, what needs to happen for Mandos is they need to be able to, on the broadcast, kind of highlight trees, like as people are teeing off, because when it becomes like a pretty big part, I mean, there are like, if you don't notice the Mandos or if they're not mentioned, there are some holes where like there are lines that look obvious that just won't be able to be played. And so I think that's another part of the visibility too. And like I said, I think this looks like a course that I don't think is poorly designed.
No, it looks like a blast to
And
play.
I think if I went and played it, I'd have a lot of fun. And I think a lot of the players will probably even enjoy the course. It seemed like Gossage and Ezra did. But it's just not going to broadcast well, and you're already kind of setting yourself up a certain way. But I will say this: I've never really heard super awful things about this course. It usually comes as a part of the West Coast swing. We expect this style of golf out there. I think it is a bummer that it got jammed into this Champions Cup thing, and I think it's going to reflect on the course in a way that's probably kind of harsh on them. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and like this isn't what we typically would. This isn't what we want to see out of this major, and so it's going to get more criticism than what it would normally get.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's almost unfair to the OTB Open in Swenson Park that this is the Champions Cup, where the fans, whether the PDJ intended it or not, the fans have declared it the Wooded Major, and it's going to the farthest thing from it. Like I said, we've hammered that storyline home, but I think it is a pertinent thing of that is going to affect fan perception of this course in this context. Yeah. Because I can say that because it's affected mine. Where before at the OTB Open, I've looked at this course and been like, it's what it is. This time I'm looking at it from the perspective of playing it for a major and for the Champions Cup, and I just, like I said, if you throw out a hole on this, I mean, really the only hole I probably could have remembered was hole 18, and now it's hole 2. If you throw me a random number hole, I'm not going to tell you what it is.
It's tough.
I have no clue. They all look very similar. We're playing in a field. There's a lot of low ceilings that force rollers, and I don't know. I do think that the players with a good roller game and a good forehand game will be preferred out here. They'll be the players that'll probably have the best shot. Distance is going to be at a premium here because according to, again, this is old stats, but it's the best stats we're going to be able to have. Going into last year's event, this was the longest course on tour in relation to average feet per par stroke. So that doesn't mean just the longest course on tour.
Yeah.
But when you look at it in relation to par, it also came in last year. This doesn't factor in new additions to the tour this year, but last year it was coming in at the 6th hardest course.
No surprise
fitting around
no surprise
USDGC Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship, which last year was Nevin. I don't remember.
Yes.
DMO, which is Des Moines, I believe. What is DMO? Has to be Des Moines, right? And D-Glow.
Yeah.
I don't know what DMO is. I think that's Des Moines.
I would think so.
Des Moines Open. There's the Des Moines Challenge.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm blanking on that.
I don't know, but regardless, OTB Open fits right into there. We're negative 0.8 strokes under par. Average.
I was gonna say it's no surprise to see Glendevere right next to it as one of the other longest courses on tour, because I think that there's a similar style of play that works on a lot of these holes, and I totally agree. I think the roller and the forehand are going to be a huge tool out there, because throwing low ceiling shots with those two are just going to be the most effective.
Yeah. Now, one interesting thing about this course is there's only 3 players that going into last year's event had finished top 10 at all 3, which was Calvin Heimberg, Anthony Barela, and Aaron Gossage. Calvin Heimberg won last year.
Well, it was a very weak field.
Well, yes, that was another thing I was going to bring up. But he won last year, so he obviously kept that true. I was just looking up Champions Cup. That's not the tournament I mean.
He's not really. Calvin is like, he's not really the prototypical player you would expect. Like when you mention rollers, forehands, you don't immediately think about Calvin.
No.
So that is kind of interesting that he was able to win last year. But last year, I mean, if you look at the field, it was pretty wounded, especially in FPO, but also MPO.
So now when we look at 4 OTB Opens, Calvin Heimberg's the only player to finish top 10 at all of them because Anthony Barela and Aaron Gossage missed the top 10 last year.
Was Anthony Barela even there last year?
I believe so.
Surely. I don't think he missed.
Yes,
yeah,
he came in 18th, and Gossage also came in 18th. Funny enough, right next to each other.
Very cute.
Very
a lot
cutesy,
of bunched-in scores, too. If you notice, that leaderboard last year was very stacked up.
Yeah, that is
really
one thing,
stacked up.
As we get into storylines that will be exciting, I think, for the Champions Cup, is this style of course does bring in a big population of the field, in my opinion, because realistically, just avoid OB. There's a lot of ways to attack these holes. A lot of times the forehand is the preference or the backhand roller, but James Conrad came in second out here, I believe it was 2021, just a few years ago, where the course has changed since then, but not that much. So you can get it done with the backhand. And realistically...
Well, Isaac had a decent finish last year, too.
Really solid backhand players typically have a good backhand roller. And when we're talking, this is a distance course, whatever, Emerson Keith won this thing in 2023. Mm-hmm. So you can also throw that out the window. This really brings in a large number of people because it's like, get the disc in play, attack when you can attack, and just avoid trouble. And you're going to be fine out there. It definitely leans more towards the distance heavy, the big forehands, but it's not like you have to have that 2 score. No. So across 4 rounds, it could cause a very jumbled up leaderboard that's going to be an exciting final day.
Yeah, I do. Like we say we won about the course. I don't think it's going to inhibit like bad golf. Like I think it is going to create like good golf, and there's probably going to be decisions, and there's OB. So like there are some good things to take away. And like I said, the worst and the kind of the bad end of the stick this course is getting is that it's being featured at this major. But at the end of the day, I do think it could create exciting golf. It just might be a situation where we're watching people's drives fly down the stretch and the chase cam switched halfway through its flight, and we have to listen to the commentators to understand where the heck the disc is in relation to
hopefully
where
they understand where it is.
Well, because and it's one thing if you can tell us like they're trying to land out near this one tree, but a lot of those shots, like you're just trying to you just can't wrap your brain around like where they're wanting to land. It's a lot harder at those park courses to gain that perspective.
Very much so. So let's kick off the storylines with the defending champion, Andrew Presnell.
Yeah.
Will he be back-to-back Champions Cup winner, Andrew Presnell, after this weekend?
Yes. No.
Well, what if I told you he's never played this event before? Does that
helps his case? Yeah. Helps his case. Andrew Presnell, it was an amazing win last year, but that was a dogfight of a major at one of the most brutally wooded courses. He had a great game plan out there, and it worked. I'm sure he could probably finish okay out here, but it definitely it drastically lowers his odds to win. But that being said, I probably would have given the same odds to win last year going into that event as I would right now, which is like 0.1%.
This would definitely be a more surprising win than last year because at least Andrew Presnell at Northwood Black.
For sure.
If you told someone last year pre that happening, Andrew Presnell is going to win a major at Northwood Black, I think people would have been like, wow, it's kind of surprising, but like if he was going to win one, that makes sense. Like if he was going to win a major, it's going to be the one there. Out here, is it possible? Absolutely. Like I just said, Emerson Keith won this event, OTB Open, just a few years ago. So it's
very weak field.
Definitely possible. Yes, it historically has been a weak field, but major-wise, Champions Cup has also historically been one of the weaker fielded majors.
It's also true.
So does Presnell have a chance? Yes. Does he have, I think, less of a chance?
Who doesn't have a chance?
Someone not playing.
Name a guy who doesn't have a chance.
Doesn't have a singular chance at winning.
Throw a name out there.
That's playing this event?
That's playing.
Okay, let me just look. Sorry. I'm looking at last year's OTB Open. This is going to be very hard for me to track because I got
just name it. Throw out a name you know.
Well, I want to make sure they're there.
Oh, okay. I see. Oh, I see.
Yeah, I have to make sure this player's there. I think, you know what? I'll get a little risky. I'm going to go with Matthew Alexander.
Wow, a Liberty alumni. Brutal.
Someone I know. Brutal. All right, you want me to get a little riskier? I'll go riskier.
I'll get it.
I'll go riskier. Okay. Former Elite Series winner, National Tour winner.
I know exactly.
Connor O'Reilly.
Dude, come on, man.
That's a little riskier.
He's a cool guy.
When did I say he wasn't a cool? I love Matty Alexander. He's a cool guy.
I'll tell you a guy who has zero chance of winning. Calvin Heimberg.
That's a risky one. Because, like we're about to talk about next, Calvin Heimberg is actually the previous winner at the OTB Open. So he's actually the previous winner, and according to statistics, he is the best player at this event, period.
And
with 4 events, his best finish being first. His average score is going to come in over 20 under par. So this feels like, honestly, in my opinion, I could be wrong, this feels like his best chance yet to win a major. Can he do it?
Well, here's the thing. I kid because like it is really fun to do the Calvin can't win the big one narrative, but I'm kind of changing my mind as I think about it that maybe the funniest thing possible is that he only wins one major ever, and it's the Champions Cup that they played in the Open. Like that could be even funnier. Or maybe like because like if Rick wins this one, like he's already won the big ones, so like you're not gonna throw that heavy of an asterisk on there because you're like it's Rick, he could win any of these. But if like his only major comes in at this one, I don't know. I think whenever you have a major like this, there's certain players that you would like be more willing to toss the asterisks on. It's like when Presnell won last year. Like you're kind of more willing to be like, well, like that course kind of set up, not necessarily at Northwood, but you still kind of think of it a certain way.
Like if 2016 USDGC had went Ricky's way, is there as big of an asterisk as it going Big Germ's way? Because Ricky was the one chasing.
No, there's not. Yeah. There's not because exactly. Yeah. So I think if Calvin were to win this, it would be kind of funny to be like, well, I mean, he won the Wooded Major when they didn't play in the woods. Like that, as much as I don't really believe it, it is funny to say.
No, it is a funny storyline. I
don't think you can win. No.
I think there's
an M next to it.
I think this is the best chance Calvin has had so far to win a major. I don't think he's going to do it. I do think he will get close. But the real thing here,
he doesn't play good at majors. Like Rick finishes well at majors. Calvin, like
apparently that's a fraud storyline.
No, we looked into it.
Someone said that was a fraud storyline.
We looked into it.
I'll pull it up.
I'm not going to say he never does, but like he has.
Look at his last year.
He has some bad finishes at majors, like in seasons where he was otherwise very good.
He came in last year second at USDGC, 23rd at European Open.
That's a bad finish.
4th at Worlds and 5th at Champions Cup.
Last year wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad.
That's not bad.
Go to the year before. Maybe that was. Well, this one shouldn't be too bad. Maybe it is a fraud narrative.
I don't know.
Maybe it was just the European Open one that stood out.
5th at USDGC, 16th at Champions Cup, 4th at European Open, 5th at Worlds.
Maybe it's fraud narrative. Fraud narrative. Okay.
Fraud narrative. He gets himself in contention.
Well, that's not a fair statement. Taking 4th and 5th place does not mean you're ever in contention.
That's fair.
Because if you took 4th at European Open a couple years ago, you were not.
You were 35.
You were 30 strokes. So maybe that's where this narrative comes from. There's a couple that just weren't close.
Maybe. I think this is his best shot, but I think what's going to hurt him or his chances here is it's a lot of players' best shots. I mean, we're still looking at Anthony Barela chasing down. We'll talk about him. Simon Lazat's still looking at his first major, who has won out here historically. Ganon Burr stands in his way. Ricky Wysocki stands in his way. Paul Macbeth had the hot round 1 last year, stands in his way. Like, I think Calvin's issue, if there is one coming into this event, is he has the pressure of trying to win a major. And going to a course like this that historically he's been very good at, it also fits so many other players' games that it's going to be a very tough one to win.
Digging yourself out of the kind of pressure chamber that he has locked himself into with this major thing, which like whether he admits that or not, like it just like when you've been such a good player for this long, and same things happen to Rick too. Like there's more to it than just like the odds just weren't in your favor.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be straight with you. I think that his season last year, where for Calvin, he only won twice. Obviously, only won twice is because how good Calvin has been historically. Where he got overshadowed by Anthony Barela and Ganon Burr and even Isaac Robinson winning back-to-back Worlds. Like, there was a lot of storylines that weren't Calvin Heimberg.
Yeah.
This also might line up to be the least pressure he's ever had coming into a major because I feel like he's not the storyline anymore. Whereas before, almost a lot of weekends, it was like, Calvin was the guy to beat. He's not right now. You have Ganon. You have Ricky's a big storyline. AB has come out of the gates. Like, Nick Loss is coming back here. You have a lot of other storylines. So it lines up where he's really good at this course. Yeah. And I think this is probably one of the least pressure coming into a major he's ever had on him. So
that might be fair.
The stars might be all aligning for a Calvin Heimberg win.
Well, that might be fair, but the second he gets into contention on the weekend, people are going to pick it up pretty quick. And that's when the pressure turns on. I think for Calvin to dig himself out of this hole, he just needs a any time you want to win a major, you have to just have a dominant performance. And we haven't seen those performances as consistently from him. And that's why, he's still going to finish okay. He's a very consistent, very talented player. But to win on the Pro Tour, you have to look unbeatable. That's what it looks like these days. And Calvin hasn't had as many of those performances. I think the putt hasn't been there as often as it used to maybe be. And so I think that's why he's not picking up as many wins. He's just not on fire for 3 or 4 straight rounds, and that's what you cannot do anything else to win on the Pro Tour. You have to be locked in on fire for 3 to 4 rounds.
For sure. Now, another player that has historically played well out here in his 3 appearances, he's gone 4th, 5th, 6th, is Ricky Wysocki, also looking to break a major drought. It wouldn't be a major if you weren't talking about Ricky and Calvin. What are your expectations for Ricky this weekend?
Pretty high. I think his season hasn't panned out quite the way he's wanted necessarily so far this year, but I think that his forehand is, low ceiling forehand is a shot he's very capable with. So I think he's going to be able to get around the course pretty well. I expect him to have a very good weekend. I think that he will get himself contention. Like I said, he has been pretty good at the majors. He just hasn't been winning them. So I think he's going to challenge, and he should be very tough to beat.
In my opinion, I think this is Ricky's weekend.
I can see it. You need it to be. So you got to start.
No, I don't need it to be.
I'm just saying, like, you have to build this narrative.
USBGC is the one I need it to be for him to break it at, because that's the one that aligns the most with my Rory to Ricky narrative. But I think this is his weekend.
Let's get it out of the way, though.
I really do. I think that just looking at this weekend, maybe the tie to Rory was just an April major. Does this major start in May? Yeah. But today's April 30th.
Make it work.
Maybe spring major. That's
spring
the time.
Major.
No, but just looking at it, I think that when you look at past player performance, Ricky's number 2 on the list that we have in front of us, Calvin being number 1. And if you're going Calvin to Ricky head-to-head majors, Ricky wins that battle. I think that Ricky's very hungry to win a major. I think he's also very hungry for a win this season. We talked about before, he's been going up and down, back and forth this season, so it's a question of he just had an up performance. Does that mean he's trending upwards, or are we in for a down? I think that probably he's peaking at the right time. That's what I'm expecting. So I think this is Ricky Wysocki's weekend. He is my pick to win, not to spoil my predictions, but I think Ricky Wysocki's going to take this one down.
I think my dream lead card for this tournament, if you just wanted it chock full of narratives, would be Calvin, Ricky, Simon, and Paul. 3 guys trying to chase down a major like desperately, and then Paul
trying to tie.
Yeah, like trying
really 4 guys trying to chase down a major.
It would just right, but like that. Yeah, one guy trying to get, or 2 players trying to get there first to kind of like really add to their legacy. One guy trying to like get out of a huge slump, and the other one trying to get out of a smaller slump, but to tie the all-time record. Like, it'd be narrative city.
Yeah,
so many narratives.
Now, when you hear longest course on tour in regards to feet for par stroke, a few names come to my mind at least. The big one here, storyline-wise, I think, is Anthony Barela. Really big breakout year last year, looking for that major win to take his career to the next level. I don't even know what I was going to... Oh, I do. That's funny. I put a correction in here myself because he's chasing his first major, and I'm aware he's won 2 amateur majors. So I wrote in here, you can go ahead and delete that comment you're writing up there, Aaron, because, we're talking about pro majors, not the AM majors. So Anthony Barela is chasing his first major. He came in second out here, his debut in 2021, but came in 18th last year. Is this the tournament in the place that you think he finally makes that jump, or is a different major looking more for AB?
I don't know. I think he can win any week, but I haven't quite seen the dominant play out of him yet this year. I think he's been solid, but he hasn't looked quite as feisty. I think his distance gives him a distinct advantage, but I don't know. It doesn't necessarily... I kind of just sit pretty neutral with him. I think I kind of feel the same way about him for this tournament as most of the others. I think if he does get into contention, the nerves will stack up, and then we've seen that story before, so we'll see what happens. But I feel kind of just 50-50 on him, just like I would at any tournament right now, where it's like if he finds an extra gear, he can absolutely win. But I'm not really sure if he's there at the moment.
I think what is his biggest advantage is his forehand. He gets slept on a little bit. I don't think he gets as much credit for how big his forehand is.
It's big. It's not super accurate.
Yes, but I think a lot of this is I'm throwing a forehand to avoid OB left, which is more important than, like, I need to get far out there and avoid OB left on a lot of these holes, I think. And I think when you're looking at it that way, it's less about I need to place this in a very specific spot. And it's really just going to come down to, does his putter get hot?
No, say so
he's going to give himself a lot of looks, I think, out here. And if he can get his putter hot and convert on a lot of those, I think he's going to give himself just as many scoring opportunities as anyone in the field. So I don't have as much confidence in him as Ricky, but I do expect a top 10 out of him. I think he's definitely going to get himself in the mix. I really feel like AB is going to end up winning a USDGC or a European Open. I think that's one of the two that is going to be Anthony Barela's title, which this year European Open lines up with Worlds, so maybe he just breaks it out with Worlds. But I think that's more where it's going to fit. But obviously this course and in this tournament this weekend could very well be it. Yeah,
I think so many players, like all these good players we're mentioning, are going to float around, and it's going to be how many of these guys have 4 great rounds versus 3. Like that's going to be a difference between all those names that populate 8th place through 25th, and then the ones that are up there towards the top is who avoids that bad round somewhere in that 4. And AB is definitely in that category. You know, stringing together 4 rounds is not easy to do, and that's something that I think he's struggled with in the other majors, obviously. So that's what it's going to take. It's going to take. I'm not shocked at all to see him have like the hot round, 2 decent rounds, and then 1 bad one that takes him out of it. Yeah. Like that's kind of a recipe for a lot of players. That's a Simon Lizotte recipe too.
Now let's talk about him. A few other names that came to my mind looking at this course are 2 former winners out here, Eagle McMahon and Simon Lizotte. So could this be the reemergence of Eagle that we've all been waiting for a while? Or is this now the time for Simon to notch that first major he's looking for?
Yeah, I don't quite see it with Simon this year. I think there's been some confidence, some putting issues. I don't know. I don't quite... He comes out of nowhere a lot of times, so it's tough to say, but I'm not sure that I'm feeling that. I do love Eagle this event. Love it. I think he's timed this up really well. I think he has gotten more and more dangerous, and I mean... his game just like these are courses that he plays well at. When he can throw the big rollers, there is a sidearm there still. I like Eagle a lot at this event. I think he absolutely is going to get in contention.
Fast. I did not expect that.
Yeah.
I did not expect that.
I'm very high on Eagle right now for this event.
He's coming off a top 10. I agree that out of the 2, I think Eagle finishes better than Simon, mainly because you're right in the sense of like, even when Simon got really hot, it just kind of came and went out of nowhere. Like it's similar to AB, where I think for Simon, a lot of it comes to his confidence on the putting green, because if he feels like I have to get every shot within a certain distance, he throws with more tension, and then obviously he's not putting well, versus when he's draining putts from everywhere, it allows him to throw more freely, which that's when Simon's at his best. That's how he even got the like whole Simon line narrative back before he changed up his game, was like the dude just wants to get out there and have fun. Yeah. And what's the most fun is when you know you can score really no matter what you do. So I think if that Simon appears where his putter is dialed, he's feeling really free out there on the course, then yeah, I mean, he has the distance. He has a backhand and forehand, obviously. I think his backhand roller game, it used to be very dominant. I don't know if we've seen it too much with the MVP discs, but I think Simon could easily get in contention. But Eagle makes a lot of sense here, especially even the low ceiling backhands. The way he spins a disc just I think really helps with even his hyzer flips. I think that really helps with the low ceiling when he is choosing a backhand over a forehand. His forehand is a question. He still has it. It's not as good as it once was, but it is way better than it was a year ago. And he's gaining a lot more confidence in it. So it'll be interesting on a course like this, where there's gonna be forehand or backhand roller options, how many times he's going with the backhand roller. And to be honest with you, with wind out there, that could be the difference between winning or losing, is if you choose the backhand roller and it gets a little squirrely on you a few times, whereas you could have went forehand, that might be the difference. But Eagle's backhand rollers, I mean, he can get so far out there that there's some times where, I remember this historically at this course, there's sometimes where a player's backhand roller gets as far as a backhand player's almost 2 shots. Yeah. And it can just be such a huge advantage where it's the difference between a 100-foot upshot or a 300-foot upshot. Literally just throwing that backhand roller out here. Mm-hmm. And gyro, outer rim, rolls farther.
You have to consider that.
You do have to consider that. So I like Eagle a lot out here. I don't quite know if I like him to win, but Eagle's a similar player where you blink and he's there. Like the European Open 2 years ago, when it was one of the greatest disc golf showings of all time between him and Paul, no one expected that. Eagle didn't even expect it, and it just kind of happened. So I think either one of these players could get in the mix. I do lean a little bit more to expect it out of Eagle than Simon this weekend, though. And finally, it wouldn't be a preview show if we didn't talk about the favorite going into the week, really every week, which is Ganon Burr, especially when you add a fourth round onto a tournament. You got to like Ganon Murr. And you can't have a Grand Slam season if you don't win the first one. So with his game this year, do you think he takes this one down?
I think he's in a great position to do so. I know he didn't perform great at this venue last year. He actually is funny. He said to us before that like this course really just, it doesn't set up in any kind of complex way. Like he just had kind of a bad event. It's a tournament he believes he should win. And that's all I really need to hear is like, because Ganon will let you know if he has strong beliefs about a course and the way that it messes with him, then like that does kind of get in his head. But if he doesn't have those holdups, then yeah, I have no reason to believe he won't be his normal self. And he's the guy you have to beat. I'll say that.
You know, I just said something when talking about Simon that I am now convincing myself is true with no research.
Oh, gosh.
At all, which is that you want a hyzer flip for low ceiling out here. And I think maybe that's something to think about with Ganon. He loves throwing on annies.
You can throw low,
he's going to be going
flex shots just as easily.
But you're throwing down with an annie. You're throwing up with a hyzer. So if you can go pump it low hyzer, you're treating that disc up. The low annie, you're much more likely to throw it down to the ground.
You better be careful, man.
So I think that's
you're digging yourself into a hole.
No, I've said this before, and I think last time I said it, I was right. So I'm saying it again, where I just think that it looks like a Ganon Burr course, but I don't think it actually is.
I don't care what it is.
He's in my top 3.
Yeah,
I don't think he's
okay.
Yeah, I don't think Ganon wins this one. I think it's mainly because it brings so many players in. I do think it's going to just play better for a hyzer flip game versus the forced annie. And Ganon loves the forced annie. I think he's going to have to rely a lot on the roller game. And the player who wins is going to have a great weekend with the roller. But there's going to be a lot of players that are trying the roller. And at the end of the day, when you're throwing on imperfect ground with wind and stuff, the roller's just less predictable. You hit a twig, and next thing you know, one that used to flip in practice didn't flip or whatever. The roller brings way more variables into play, and it makes it more random. So if you're having to go with the roller, you know, it's going to work for someone.
It is
Could
interesting.
It be Ganon?
It is interesting
we'll
that Calvin won there last year and is like a really good flex backhand player.
He has a good hyzer flip game.
Well, so does Ganon Burr.
But Ganon refuses it.
Not true.
It is now.
He throws FDs.
I said I'd do it with no research.
Okay.
I said it was no research.
Listen, you'll probably be right. He probably won't win.
It was just a gut thing.
I would give him like a 35% chance of victory, so he probably won't win.
And if he doesn't, it's because of that.
You're right.
Again, no research. That was just a gut thing while I was talking about Simon. And I remember saying it about Ganon once before. So
it's pretty much all you have.
It's all I got. Well, I mean, because realistically, every course lines up for Ganon. It's like he's the Kristen Lott of MPO, where it's like, I mean, do we want to just talk about who can beat Ganon every week?
We are about to have a value pick in the tier 3 that is going to be spoken about for years to come.
Oh, Trevor loves the pick'em board we're looking at. But let's talk FPO before we get there.
I love the pick'em board.
Let's talk about FPO before we get there. When a major comes around, it's all eyes on Kristen Lott. Or Let, or however you want to say it, who has not played out here yet at the OTB Open. This is typically when she takes her break, but we've never really seen a course that doesn't fit her game. But this course really suits, in my opinion, Holland Hanley, Evelina Salonen, and Ella Hansen. So do you think one of them is going to give her a run for her money, or do you think, I've seen what I need to see, I think Kristen's winning this thing?
Maybe. I mean, 4-round event, we said at Worlds last year, like, oh my gosh, 5 rounds. Like, it's hard to imagine. And then look what happened. Like, she still shot herself out of it. Evelina won. I do think the throwers have advantage here, but like throw pink is at Winthrop, that's throwers course.
Holland Hanley.
But this past year, didn't Kristen win this past
Kristen's
year?
won it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And when Holland won it, it was a little controversial.
Yeah, so like that's what I'm saying is like there are absolutely chances for Kristen to have hiccups. I wouldn't just say it's a lock because I as much as she wins the most events, like at any given weekend, she can just blow
Absolutely.
up. So I still think she's like
especially when there is OB. That's what we've seen.
Yeah, I think she's still a heavy favorite, but I think honestly, for me, the emergence of both Ella and Holland playing really well this year is going to give her trouble out there.
Well, that's my question is if Ella and Holland both looking for their first major, how much? I mean, we saw Holland last week at the Kansas City Wide Open freaking out with like 3 strokes with 1 to play at just an Elite Series event without Kristen there.
Yeah.
If she finds herself in the mix, or Ella, because we've seen Ella freak out and lose at Waco and other tournaments before. So if either of them find themselves with the lead coming down the final stretch with Kristen chasing them down, how much of that plays in? Like, how much extra pressure do you think they're feeling looking for their first major, even though they're now both proven Elite Series winners?
No, there'll still be tons. I think Holland has looked shaky under pressure. I think Ella has kind of squashed those demons a little bit. She's been pretty impressive this year. I think she might actually handle it better because she's been through the collapse a little bit worse almost. Like, Holland we've seen shaky a few times, but I don't know that she necessarily has a signature collapse. She kind of fell apart at Worlds last year, but it wasn't like it was on like the final few holes.
No,
right?
It wasn't the same as Waco.
I think like when that happens to you, it changes things. So I still... Yeah, I don't know. And I don't think Kristen, I don't know that when she's chasing you down, it's really all up to you because it's not like she necessarily will go on insane birdie runs. She kind of just waits you out. And so if players can stick to their game plan, they'll be fine. The one issue could be on a course that is going to provide some opportunities for decision making. I think there's a chance that a player might step off the gas and make mistakes due to that and be punished for that. So I think that will be something to watch is, does a player gain a decent lead and then try to switch up their game plan, play safer, and lose for that sake? We saw AB do it at Supreme Flight in the first event of the year. Yeah,
it'll be very, very interesting to watch. I think what we are in for is a show. I think that this weekend's going to be electric. I think the course is going to play well to kind of cause that mix. And with the major pressure, if Ella or Holland gets in the lead, who knows? I mean, heck, even if Evelina's putt disappears. And, there's plenty of players. Silva could sneak in there. Missy Gannon, we're still waiting for her to arrive. Henna Blomroos hasn't got herself in the mix. There's lots of stuff that could happen out there, both on MPO and FPO. So let's get into our pick'em for this week. So there's an updated pick'em value. Basically, all of Tier 1 has been eliminated to just Ganon Burr and Kristen Lott are the only $7 players. So we have to weigh that.
Which is kind of funny because Ganon just has 1 win, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
like Niklas has more wins.
Yeah, that is true. But Niklas is in Tier 2.
It's time to feast on Niklas.
So let's start MPO. One obvious play is to go Ricky, Calvin, both in Tier 2, and then pick up Eagle in Tier 3.
That was exactly what I was thinking.
So we go Ricky, Calvin, Eagle.
You either take Ricky.
That means we're betting Ganon Burr's not winning.
You either take Ricky, Calvin, Eagle, or Ricky, Paul, Eagle.
Or you go
Ricky,
Ganon, Eagle, Aaron Gossage.
What? Oh. I don't really believe in that. I think Gossage would be a throwaway pick.
Rathbun's also
when you're looking for top 10s, I think Eagle is he's the stretch player that is Evan Smith still in Tier 3? He's a guy nobody's talking about either, and he's a top 10 machine. Yeah, he's a top 10 machine. But I think Eagle is your stretch play, and that's fine. But I think Tier 4, you're throwing one away because you're grasping at straws. Here's another question: where's Austin Turner?
Tier 3.
Tier 3 as well?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man. If you wanted to wait, how many players can you take?
3. You have to take 3.
Oh, you just can take 3.
I was going
to say, we can get frisky.
Because Rathbun had a phenomenal tournament out here last year.
Yeah, but that's...
But he's scary. He's been terrible this year.
Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, I think he was okay last event.
I think if we choose Gannon, you got to pair him with Aaron Gossage, and then you just pick most likely Eagle from Tier 3.
Yeah, you definitely take Eagle.
But I don't hate the Ricky Paul Eagle or Ricky Calvin Eagle or Ricky Niklas Eagle or Ricky AB Eagle.
Yeah, well, there's 2 schools of thought. If we want to avoid the major curse, we're just looking for top 10s though.
We just need top 10.
Because Paul has
Calvin,
legitimately been a top 10 machine this year. How many times has he missed the top 10? And MCO, I think he may have, but that was because
MPO, I think he just dropped to 4th. He's missed it once at Waco.
You only missed it once. You have to take Paul right now.
Third,
you have
11,
to
7,
take Paul.
4, 4, 3.
Yeah, you got to take Paul here.
Well, and one of the 4s is match play, so 4, 3.
You got to take Paul.
Okay, so we go Ricky, Paul, Eagle.
Ricky, Paul, Eagle.
That's what we like.
Yeah, Paul's just been a top 10 machine, and I think there's a great chance for those 3 to be in the top 10.
It's just the only problem I have.
How
with this list
but is missing out on the winner that? How severe
drastic.
Is it?
Because the winner's 25 points.
In what second place? Because that is important. Because Ganon probably does have a 40% chance to win. So if it's if you're playing the odds, Like how much better is a Ganon first and nothing else compared to like if you literally were to get 6th, 7th, 8th place.
I gotta get the computer out for research. This is tough. I need to find the manufacturer cup.
That is what.
So first place gives you 25. Second place gives you 18. Third place gives you 15. So you lose 7 points if you pick second instead of first.
Okay, but like, what would happen if you, like I said, if you get like 6th, 7th, and 8th place, all of them, versus just first? Like, do 6th, 7th, and 8th add up to first place points?
6th, 7th, 8th is 18 points. It adds up to second place.
See, that's where it's tough because it's like you could have like that getting 6th.
You got to get
8th.
Someone in the top 3.
But yeah, I mean, one of those is going to be. I like it because I think there's a top 3 in there and then 2 other in the top 10.
My only question is, do we really like Paul more than Calvin at this course?
Yeah, he played fine there last year.
But Calvin, like Ricky,
what are we talking about with Calvin?
6th, 5th, 4th. Calvin has historically last 2 years has been completely fine at majors. Completely fine at majors, dude. And he is the best player at this course.
Yeah, but completely fine. Like you just said, we want top 3s.
Yeah.
I like Paul for the top 3, not Calvin.
What is Paul's history? Does Paul even play the OTB Open?
He played it last season.
What did he do? What did he do?
He took like 11th.
Let's see. 18th, Trevor. 18th. You know what 18th
You saw the leaderboard though.
0 points.
What's the difference
Trevor?
between 18th and like 5th
in
last year? It's probably like 2 shots.
In 2022, Paul took 19th at OTB.
He was injured. He
came top 6 in 2021. So we have one top 10.
Last time he was in form.
Calvin's never come outside the top 10 at OTB.
Okay, how about this? We take Calvin, and if you're wrong,
flip a coin.
Sure.
Let's do it. Heads, it's Calvin. Tails, it's Paul.
Betting on Calvin in a major is so anti-you.
No, but it comes. We're betting for him top 10.
But you just said we need top. We shouldn't be picking guys that might finish.
Ricky's might win. Ricky's winning.
But picking a guy,
Paul is more likely to be outside the top 10.
Picking a guy because he's likely to be between 4th and 10th is not worth it. We need guys who are likely to be between 1 and 3, and that's not Calvin.
Yeah,
but it is Paul right now.
I disagree.
What do you mean? This season he's been awesome.
No, I don't think
you are putting so much stock in a course that you've already admitted brings in the entire field.
But what I'm saying is, Paul and Calvin aren't my winning pick.
You get sucked into that too much.
I'm saying they're not my winning pick. Paul and Calvin are not my winning pick. So I need one of them to be a lock for a top 10. There is one player statistically that is always a lock for the top 10 here, and that's Calvin Heimberg.
Not this season he isn't. You know who is? The guy who's only been outside the top 10 once.
You're acting like Calvin's having a bad season, my G.
Better season. Who's having a better season? Paul. Paul is. You can look.
Calvin's finished outside the top 10 once.
Look at the Pro Tour standings. Paul is ahead of him. I'm pretty sure.
We'll see.
I'm pretty sure he was like 2nd or 3rd.
But I think they're be very close. They're both having good seasons. Paul's 2nd, Calvin's 5th.
Thank you.
They went, but Paul's went
better season.
3rd to 5th, 11th to 5th, 7th to 10th, 4th to 13th, 3rd to 6th.
Sounds like you're beating him every event, just about.
By a handful of strokes.
That's what matters in
We're
this.
We're flipping a coin.
Okay,
I'm flipping a coin. Because Calvin's history at this event, I'm not willing to just give up.
It's not his history at this event. History at this course, it's a major. He's going to choke.
I agree he's not going to win.
Then he's a waste of a pick.
No,
you should take 3 guys that have a chance to win and will also be in the top 10. It's not like I'm saying Paul's going to win or finish in 15th.
Calvin is more likely to be in the top 10 here, statistically. Right here. He's the only guy that does it every year.
Those are different seasons. Paul hasn't been the same in years as he's playing this year.
2021, Paul was not bad.
He took 6th.
2022, Paul was still not bad.
No, 2022, Paul was not very good.
What was the rest of his year?
That was the year he started having injury problems. This is the best form he's been in since 2021 when he won Worlds. You know that to be true.
I don't know.
I don't think he was very good in 2022.
Let's see what he won. He won Waco in 2022. He came in 2nd at the Open at Belton. He came in top 10 at Champions Cup. Came in 2nd at Jonesboro. 5th at Portland. 2nd at European Open. That was the crazy European Open year. One of the greatest tournaments of all time. 7th at Deglo. 2nd at Ledgestone. Won Worlds in 2022.
Oh, that was his Worlds title? Okay.
Suck it. Top 4 at USDGC, top 3 at MVP, top 5 at GMC. This was a phenomenal year. He came in 19th.
We can look at numbers all we want. At the end of the day, Paul is going to beat Calvin at this event. He's going to beat him at this event.
Let's put a side bet. We'll flip a coin, but let's make a side bet.
I can't afford it.
Let's just do something fun. It doesn't have to be money related.
What do you want the terms to be?
I don't know. We just got like something with I don't know, something disc golf related, something video related.
Okay. If Calvin beats Paul, I don't know. Do we just make it like a putting thing? Like, what are we talking about here?
It's gotta hurt. It's gotta hit somewhere.
We'll think on it. Maybe comment. I don't know. We have to accept it. This event starts right after this is released. Yeah. We don't have time to come up with this.
Heads, it's
Calvin.
Calvin.
It's not important.
Tails, it's Paul.
Whatever the coin decides is going to be what's best.
Yes. Heads, it's Calvin.
That's clear.
Tails, it's Paul.
Okay.
Hey Siri. Flip a coin.
Just give you sass.
Tails. That's Paul.
Oh shoot, that's pressure cooker.
You're screwed.
No,
it's all your fault.
If he has his, I will only be in a bad spot if he has his worst event of the whole season.
Harmless fantasy football.
Like he would literally have to have his worst event in a major. He would have to have his worst event of the season for me to like.
I'm not disagreeing with you that
bad.
Paul has a chance to do good here. Calvin just has a better chance to do good here, statistically.
Statistically, they're going to play a different course for 2 out of the 4 rounds. Not to mention they are going to play 4 rounds.
Okay, here's a good one. A public apology video. It just has
stupid.
to be. You post a apology video on Foundation's main account, and for nothing. You can't say what it's for. Just I'm sorry, and you have to be sincere and be like, look, I'm sorry for the way it was taken. I didn't mean it. Whatever.
Well, no, I'm not going to say that. People are going to think I got canceled. You're going to think I did something heinous. I would do a public apology for the pick. Like, absolutely. I would, like...
let's do this.
I'll wear a dunce cap.
How about this? Whoever loses can't pick that player in the top 3 the rest of the season.
Oh, that's way worse for me.
So you can't have Paul. I can't have Calvin.
Okay, sure.
The rest of the
that's
season,
fine.
we can't predict him in the top 3.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Because that doesn't really hurt anyone.
Yeah, it does. The guy who's
been what's on the line for
the guy who's been a bigger threat to win week in and week out? Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's not like... I mean, we could wash each other's cars or something. This is more fun.
It's honestly pretty funny because we're pitting 2 ferocious fan bases against each other. So I'm kind of interested to see the comment section.
All right, so Paul is our official pick. The coin is spoken. We're going Ricky, Paul, Eagle. This is going to be the major Calvin wins. FPO.
No.
FPO, I think we got to take Kristen. But if we take Kristen, we're ignoring Holland, Evelina.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I'm still not. I'm ready to get away from the Ganon thing. I'm still not ready to get away from Kristen.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
now Cadence Burge did get moved up. So now we're looking at...
It's pointless.
Rebecca Cox,
Rebecca
maybe?
Cox is probably the best
maybe
one there.
Maybe go Kristen, Rebecca...
And then it just becomes...
Is that Katrina Allen? Do you go Katrina Allen? I think that's her right there.
Yeah, let's take Kat.
What has she done? I feel like she's actually started to be okay this year.
She had good...
she's a top 10 machine this year.
Oh yeah, she has done pretty well.
She's went 8th, 5th, 9th, 3rd, 16th at Kansas City.
Steal of the year.
This is a thrower's course.
Yeah,
Katrina Allen.
Great roller player. Actually is a pretty good roller player.
She loves the sail.
Yeah,
Great
roller player.
Okay. Kristen, Rebecca, Katrina Allen.
In love with it.
There we go. That's Pick'em. That's the most contentious Pick'em of all time. I can't wait. I need to look at what Tour Life picked.
It's fun to have a little bit of spice in the preview show.
I need to figure out what Tour Life picked.
Also, I hope Calvin digs a millionth in this tournament.
For our sake, I hope he does. I'm willing to sacrifice that.
Oh.
But he's not going to.
I think Calvin probably takes like 8th, but I think Paul's top 5. Like I think he's a lock in the top 5. If he's not, I'm gonna have words with him.
All right. I sent it in. I submitted it. Edwin now has it.
Oh, shoot.
Edwin has it. They're locked in. All right. It's time to pick our top 3. Going into this week, I'm leading 34 points to Trevor's 28 points, but
double
majors
points.
are worth double. So that means nothing. I've already kind of spoiled my MPO, so I'll just start with that. I'm taking Ricky Wysocki to win this thing. I'm picking Ganon Burr in 2nd because majors are worth double points, and you better have them in your top 3 unless you're stupid. And I'm taking Calvin Heimberg in 3rd.
Wait, who did you take 2nd?
Ganon Burr.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, who am I stupid for?
Ricky, Ganon, Calvin.
Ricky, Gannon, Calvin.
That's
okay.
my top 3.
I'm taking Gannon in 1st, Paul in 2nd, and Eagle McMahon in 3rd place.
Wow.
I have this vision that Eagle McMahon is going to play really well at this event and get in the top 3. Yeah.
Clearly.
I'm very committed to it. And this is like, I knew I'd be able to pull one over you there.
Yeah.
And, well, it's good, too, because you kind of wasted your 3rd place on Calvin.
I didn't waste it on anyone.
So that's perfect.
I made a strategic
lot of chance
decision.
for switcheroos here, though.
In FPO, I'm taking Kristen 1, Holland 2, Ella Hansen 3.
I just switched Ella and Holland. Other than that,
You went Kristen, Ella, Holland?
Yeah.
All right, and then who's your dark horse pick, Trev?
Mason Ford. Kind of had to go to an old reliable here because he's just been consistent this season. Like, I could see him just taking a 25th.
And it's going to take a lot better than that to beat my dark horse pick. Sir, Zachary Nash finished 8th place out here last year, just won GBO. And, you know, one of the main reasons I actually like
Hunter,
him,
did you know about the GBO
I did
thing?
not. That's how good this pick is not only did he come in top 10 last year, but then he got hot this year. But the reason I like him is his spin rate. I love his spin rate out here. I think the spin rate's going to be key because it helps to keep the disc, stabilize the disc. I think it's great for low ceilings, and I think it's great for rollers. And Zachary Nash statistically is one of the highest spin rate players this world's ever seen. He's crazy. I don't know if you've ever seen his tech disc numbers.
Okay, I was like, is there numbers to back this up?
His tech disc numbers are
compared
ludicrous.
to who?
Everyone. Like Brian Earhart was blown away when he saw this dude's tech disc numbers.
Man.
So I think
that's fun.
Is going to play.
That'll probably
weekend.
bump him all the way up into 58.
Give me Zachary Nash. Top 8 last year. Trev? Give me
Last year at which event?
The same course we're playing this year.
Oh, with a much weaker field.
Same.
With a much weaker field.
Not that much weaker. Andrew Presnell wasn't there.
What?
Who else? All right, we're going to recap this event on Monday. We'll probably be at each other's throats, especially if honestly, best case scenario for the viewers, Paul and Calvin both miss the top 10. Because then this is all negligible. If they both miss the top 10, we're both allowed to pick them.
Okay. Yeah.
What was the vote? Oh, it's whoever beat. Yeah, if they're both outside the top 10.
It's just
it's just, you know what? That was all just for fun. That was just for the camera.
Yeah.
But if one gets in, the other. If they both get in, and bet still stands.
Sure.
It's just if they both miss. Wash.
Nice.
We'll see you on Monday.